All right, Game 4 of Day 2 featured 100 Thieves versus Counterlogic Gaming. Two teams that are kind of struggling in the mid-tier. CLG not really looking like the CLG that we knew them as so far this season, the first half of the split.
No, who knew? 7 seasons in, and oof.
Yeah, it's been an interesting first half of the split so far. Going into the picks and bans, we saw CLG taking away Zoe, Skarner, and Gangplank, trying to take Gangplank away from Solo, who I believe has played Gangplank quite a bit, trying to take the Skarner away from Meteos and taking the Zoe away from Ryu. And then on the 100 Thieves side, you've got the Galio ban and the Aurelian Soul bans directed at Huhi, one of the mainstay Aurelian Soul mains, and the Callista taken away from Stixay. Both AD carries are taken at the first pick for both teams. The Ezreal going over to Stixay and the Tristana going over to Cody Sun. Who's traditionally, I do believe you're the Cody Sun expert here. He does like his hyper carries like Tristana and the Kog'Maw, right?
Yes, that's how he got rank 1 before he was signed to any professional team.
They gave Meteos the Jax and the Sejuani over to Reignover, who I believe has pretty much been relegated to Sejuani for most of this split.
Yeah, that's kind of what happens to Reignover is he gets one champion and then that's what he has to play because he can apparently only master one champion at a time.
And for the third pick of the first round of this draft, we've got the Rise going over to Ryu and a Gnar going over to Darshan. Both pretty, I would say, predictable picks. I believe that Darshan plays quite a bit of Gnar and Ryu picking up these meta roaming mid laners. So going to the second round of the pick ban.
Second phase, on the 100 Thieves side, they ban Orianna and Braum. Again, targeting who he's probably the most consistent performer on CLG, so they may not want to give him that, hold at the mid lane through the Orianna. And then CLG bans Ornn and Alistair against 100 Thieves. Aphromoo is known for his playmaking on
Take away that playmaker,
Alistair. So what does he do? He picks Bard, and they also take Sion on the 100 Thieves side, which was seen a lot this weekend, especially into Gnar. I think this was the only game that Sion won against Gnar. I think all other times he lost. And we got to see Taric come out against the Bard. I guess that makes sense. They've got a lot of engage in team fighting on the 100 Thieves side, so the Taric ult might defray that. And then finally they pick Corki as the final matchup.
Yeah, another easily roaming mid laner and a marksman. So they set up a double marksman comp with this Taric that's going to pick up the Ardent Sensor. You've got 2 Ardent Sensor targets with a solid team fight from your top laner and jungler. That's a pretty common team fighting comp that we've been seeing with these Taric picks. And of course, 100 Thieves looking to make some plays with the combination of Bard and Sion. As we'll see later on, Aphromoo is he's pretty good at playing Bard. I could say that.
A lot of people hate on him for his mechanics, that he's old and he's not necessarily challenger level. He just has the brain that can keep him in the LCS. But when he plays Bard, you don't see that. You see perfect execution a lot of times.
You don't necessarily always see his flashiness, but when he is on these champions that he's super comfortable on, he's able to make these big plays.
Absolutely.
Going into this one, early on, both of these mid laners, and especially even the top laners, because you look at the Sion ultimates and Darshan, which also making roams mid to try and make up for this, but mostly these mid laners, who is especially known as a roaming mid laner with his picks like Aurelian Soul, was trying to make a lot of roams early on. There was a lot of movement on the map. It was it was hard to keep track of at some point. I think that even, I want to say, contributed to the clown fiesta that this game became because all of these guys were roaming around instead of sticking to their lanes.
Right.
Note to on that Afromu Bard, he took Electrocute for his rune instead of the unsealed spellbook that we've seen a lot of.
Right.
Harkening back to the what is it, Thunderlords?
Yeah.
Thunderlords Bard.
Yeah, where he would just start the lane and he'd go in for like
hit
2 or 3
one Q
things.
and one auto with a meep and you're half health.
You'd be sitting there like, I'm a level 1 ADC and I only have 50% of my health and I only have 1 potion. What do I do? But Doran's shield isn't in the meta anymore, so you don't heal up off of that, and now you've got to deal with being screwed over by an Afromu Bard. Now, the way that works, right, is if you get slapped with a Q and an auto because of the stun.
Meep.
Yeah, okay.
The meep. You hit Q, that's 1.
Yeah.
Auto is 2.
And then the meep is 3.
the meep is 3.
Okay.
And that's just like solid damage as a resident Bard enthusiast.
Yeah.
It just feels so good to hit that in lane.
As a jungler, I like seeing Bard on my team because I know I can be as aggressive as he will.
As this game went on, we saw 100 Thieves making a lot of catches on the Bard. He got caught out quite a bit and ended up going for kind of defensive build. I believe he went for the Iceborne Gauntlet and what was it? He had a Negatron cloak and had like a catalyst at some point. Yeah, that was it. Is that the adaptive helm?
Yes.
He went for a pretty
Abyssal Mask.
Abyssal Mask. That was it. Abyssal Mask.
I would never have thought to build that on a Bard, but it actually, in theory, now that I see it, it makes sense because you're still getting that tankiness, but keeping the aggression.
I mean, he essentially turned into an ult machine.
Yeah.
Well,
late game, usually that's what Bard is.
Yeah.
And it was a clown fiesta until they made the picks. 100 Thieves made the picks to go get Baron. Because once they got Baron, they took complete control of the game, pretty much until the end. It was kind of interesting, which makes me think not so much about 100 Thieves, but that CLG is playing too much of a chaotic style. And
we did see CLG starting to turn it around towards the end. I believe they got a Baron. They had gotten a Baron, and Afromu hit just a juicy ult on a bunch of them, and they just wiped the team to win it.
Yeah.
It was. Oh man, it was so beautiful.
It's the game changer. I mean, I think they said it on stream that when you see a Bard ult, it's either gonna screw over your team or it's going to win you the game.
I know that feels.
You've been that Bard.
I've been that Bard multiple times.
Hey, I play Lee Sin, so I understand.
If you see either of his solo queue, you should probably dodge.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. Well, unless if I'm playing Nocturne, you're playing a solo.
Yeah, unless I'm playing Aurelion Soul support, then you want to stick around for that.
Right, it's fun to watch, and I think I'm the only Nocturne main ever. I don't think anybody plays that champion anymore.
I think you're probably wrong, but I'll let you say it.
I love that champion too much. But anyway, those things aside, I do want to talk about you brought up the roaming nature of Huhi, and just I've noticed a trend in CLG's games that they make Huhi go usually top, sometimes bot, but usually top to get these advantages. But what happens is that Huhi gets really far behind, and this is a criticism that Huhi's had in the past, that he gives up too much for his team, because he's a pretty solid player, but he's giving too many resources up and too much gold up for his team, and it actually winds up hurting his team overall in the end because he's too far behind. And I think that's what continuing to happen to them, is that they're trying to play these crazy high execution plays, or they're trying to make these high execution plays where everybody roams together, but what really just happens is that the team that isn't roaming, that just stays in lane and farms up, does better because they have more gold, evenly distributed.
Yeah, and I think that contributed to the clown fiesta nature of this game, where is that everybody was just roaming.
Right.
There wasn't really much time to farm.
Right. But the team that had the roam support is the one that won. The roaming nature of 100 Thieves was better than CLG. Like their champs were just designed more for roaming. So maybe kudos to Prolly for seeing that and saying, oh, well, they're going to roam, so I'm going to draft a roaming comp to match them and beat them at their own game.
I mean, he has said that he likes to pick annoying comps to just like piss the other team off.
He's kind of annoying. So. I love Prolly. He's a cool dude.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all I got.
Complexity days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Complexity, is that?
Yeah.
Like
back in the day when he was playing with Bubba Dub and Robert Exley.
When he was a player.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Jeez. Well,
that's all I got on this one. Then.
That's it. I'm just gonna finish my bourbon and move on. See y'all soon.